just flipped it to make it apply for her.
I think you're giving her way too much credit.
Maybe she's deserving that much credit.
Nah, I think you need to rewatch that entire little 5-10 minutes and
Maybe
see
they
how much she was nervous and messing up.
maybe they corrected it by the time you watched it because I watched it 2 weeks ago.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to Herbal Synergies, the shop. I'm your host, Sinji, and my co-host with me, as always, Bay.
What up?
What's up, Herbie, man? How you doing?
Shit, doing well for today. I can't complain too much.
Cool. Sorry about last week, guys. I was feeling under the weather.
Nah, my man just wanted to play Elden Rings all weekend. That's all.
Nah, I had plenty of time to play it after we could record. I just didn't want to be coughing on the mic.
Nah.
You heard me coughing.
He did no such a thing, folks. Don't let this man lie to you.
Oh, man. Oh, boy.
Nah, I'm just kidding.
Flavor, or as I spelled it on this note, Flover of the week. It's an extra
Oh,
O in there.
there's just there's no yeah. All right. Well, anyhow, what happened was there's a whole bunch of stuff this week. I'm like, man. So I don't know. There's some stuff from Tower of God this week. There was some stuff from Spike's family. That's pretty good. So it was a great week of flavors. I'll just tell them when I get up to them, I suppose. But yeah,
I was
I
gonna say
did like
I have a lot of moments from Spike's family I thought were like hilarious, but like
yeah,
you have like moments of the week, flavors of the weekend in there.
hells yeah.
Okay.
I like the funny stuff, funny money.
Hey man, whatever floats your boat.
Yeah, the boat's floating real high. So yeah, that's the stuff, the good stuff, stuff I'm not. But anyhow, uh, yeah, let's get into some stuff. We're trying to get into.
Damn, though, what happened to my flavor?
No one cares about your flavor because you never have one.
I have flavors at least 50% of the time.
I would say I give it a strong 45.
I give it a strong 55.
I don't know. There's like a string of a month where you didn't have a flavor.
Hey, there was a string of a month where nothing was impressing me.
Hmm. Interesting. Very interesting.
Hey, anime's entertaining, but like, not everything can qualify as a flavor.
Yeah. I mean, that concept is kind of abstract because anything you want could qualify as a flavor.
Not everything can qualify as my flavor, though.
Yeah. Well, you need to get your taste buds up.
Or don't you mean down?
Nah, because you ain't got no taste. So, you got to get them up.
Hey, man, I know what tea I like.
Yeah. You need to branch out, get you some OTs, what I'm saying.
Well, my flavor, sir, before I was almost rudely skipped,
Shoot.
was
It'd be
finding
like
out
that.
that Julius is a devil host.
Mm. See, I ain't even that far yet.
You read it all. What are you talking about?
I didn't read it all.
You didn't read it all?
I stopped right when Asha was getting ready to fight. Right after Noel got clapped, and they all got clapped.
You did
Uh,
not.
I did
You did not. Why would you?
because I
After
told you I couldn't.
after
I
hyping
could
it up so much, why would you stop before
because
the?
I told you my anxiety was getting high, and I said I couldn't handle this right now, so I was gonna pick it back up later.
Nah, there's no way.
I'm telling you what I did, dog.
You're telling me that you did not finish reading this arc.
I did not finish reading it.
Yo, so this random guy is a devil host, and completely forget what I just said.
You you already lied to me. Plus, I seen the spoiler alert online.
Oh, you already knew?
I kind of knew. They said Julius has some big news. I was like, oh, geez.
Yeah,
But
yeah,
yeah,
yeah, and he's a devil host.
yeah. I was like, oh man. Mm-mm-mm. But I didn't read it yet. But yeah, I thought it was.
How
I was
could
like,
you?
how y'all?
How could you stop right there, dude?
Cause I could stop anytime I want to.
That is wild. The amount of times you told me I had to read Black Clover and you did not finish the arc.
Well, I thought you was gonna read, and then we could discuss some, and then we come back and discuss some more. But you know, you just
I
never
read
was
it
like,
all.
oh, yeah.
Well, there's short
So
chapters. They're like 15 pages a chapter.
yeah,
Four,
but
four or five of those is one chapter of Chojin.
yeah, I just stopped reading it. 'Cause I was like, oh, I was gonna let it build up because I think I was at that time I was close, and I was like, oh man,
Nah,
I'm
it's
just going.
done. It's done. The new arc has not started yet.
No, I'm talking about that time I was being close to finishing all the chapters that were out, so I was gonna stop. Yeah, I
That's like
stopped at 305.
that's like my friend Sammy, bro. She does not like watching things on a week to week basis. She'd rather the series be complete.
If it's a show, I watch it on a week to week basis. But at that time, I think I had like maybe like I want to say maybe 5 chapters or something. I was like, oh man. So I was like, I'll take a break and read some other stuff. But yeah, so I only have what 331. Yeah, not that many more chapters. You only have 26. I can knock that out in like 30 minutes. But anyhow, yeah, I did think it was cool how everyone got power ups and then they all got clapped. And I was like, damn, how you get a power up and still get clapped?
Kill man, devil,
I
tough
was like, I
devils.
can't, but I was like, I can get behind this, get a power up and get clapped. It ain't like, some other shows be giving them power ups out of nowhere and they just be clap people immediately. It's kind of along the arcs of Demon Slayer and kind of mess with that because it's like they get strong, but the enemy's still stronger,
Yeah,
and they just keep coming up. So yeah, I thoroughly enjoy Black Clover though. Yeah. So there. So now, what would you like to get into?
I don't know though. I feel like Jujutsu Kaisen's just been like on a filler.
Yeah, not much in that department. They fight
We're
two
still,
people.
yeah, we're still
Yeah,
doing the manga creator guy versus random people.
yeah. So they pretty much all it is they fight, and I guess his domain expansion was the it's like luck machine or something, or he uses luck and skill, and it's like pachinko. That's what it was called. And he yeah, they fight and stuff, and certain percentage odds show up and the way he wins, and at the end, the line I did like was I use skill to make my luck or something along those lines. I was like, oh, that's a pretty good one. But yeah, nothing much there.
Yeah, I don't
So,
recall. I was just like, I didn't read anything. I was just scrolling through the pictures and seeing what was going on.
oh damn, man, don't even read.
I have no interest in what's going on right now.
Hmm.
It just seems like, oh, I don't know what to write about. Let's just do this.
Pretty much. Pretty much.
Which is
So you
fine.
want to,
I think that's fine. Just don't write anything.
yeah. So you want to segue that into good old jujutsu? I mean, not jujutsu.
Yeah, it was trash.
Yeah, it wasn't trash per se.
It was garbage. Give
We
a
can
fuck about this manga guy.
lead the segue from. He might be an important character later on, but the segues into let's get a little TOG. Season 2, episodes 330 to 337, baby.
3:30 to 3:37. All right, I'm right behind you. Go ahead.
Yeah, so basically Chioni and Yuri, they have some words. He says she isn't fit to be a princess, and they flash back to when they were training when they were younger. So this is where we find out that Yuri was actually the most talented person in the family, and the leader of the clan told Yuri, she's like, I don't believe it. And then they flash back. It says you always been like weak or whatever, and Yuri's like, oh, you don't believe it because something you always been pretty or something. I don't know, something crazy along those lines. But anyhow, Bam resumes fighting, and Ari shows up to confront Bam, and Calivan is fighting Bam's teacher, and he says he's a technician. And there's a lore that the Haas have thick skin or whatever, their bodies are resilient. And he's like, I don't know where you got that from, but it proves to show itself later. And he wants to know what was with the essence of bravery. And let's see. Yeah. And it was pretty much he saw Man in Black. He was a ripped martial artist and he was a master. And he was fighting in ancient times and he saw him fighting. And he didn't like to fight, so he sealed himself into the crystal. And I guess the idea, um, Calvin has that idea where he wanted to stop people from fighting, having wars, and he wants to make them all just surrender to one person with overwhelming power, and that's his idea of peace, and that's what he wants jihad to be. I'm like, oh, okay, weirdo. So Bam teacher calls him a psychopath, and they start fighting again. And Dorsey takes hostages, and she leaves Rachel like, ha ha ha, Rachel, stay there, don't go nowhere. Crack myself up. And Rachel's like, how could you leave us? And she's like, I'll get revenge or whatever on you. And I'm like, you know, daggone well why she left you. She ain't like you to start off with. You're a treacherous little snake. So it's like, huh. And they find out that I think her name's Iruvo or something. I don't know. That's Sleepy Girl's real name. And she's still with the little rancor. And the station has a teleport function, and the Arya launches an attack, and Bam and Karaka and White block it for Bam. I'm like, oh, okay. You're working with the boy Bam. Yeah. And so they talk about some hatred in his eyes, and then he's like, Bam realizes that he actually does need their help to escape. He's like, oh, I guess it's okay. And Bam has an idea to utilize the Thorn and the Black March to do some major damage. And then we flash to Bam's teacher. He's in rough shape. And uh, Caliban calls change a seed of pain and conflict, which I never given him much thought about that. How in order to change something, you have to endure some type of pain, just like lifting weights or running. You deal with some soreness, some discomfort along those lines. You ever think about that?
No.
No, you don't.
I'm sorry. I
Don't.
was like trying to catch up with the chapters to see where you're at. What was the question?
Nah, never mind.
Nah, ask. I'll have to rewind if you don't.
I said, Caliban, he talks about how change is a seed of pain and conflict. And I'm like, never getting much thought, but it's true though. When you lift weights, you get a little
Change
bit of
is a
pain.
seed of pain and conflict.
Yeah. Just like internal turmoils. You're like, oh, I don't think I can lift this weight. And then you struggle and go through some pain to lift the weight. Or, with your running, like, I don't think I can run that far. And then you struggle and go through some pain and the internal conflict of should I quit now or should I keep going? So I was like, you ever think about it in that way?
No, I mean, a lot of
Do you,
people just there's a lot of ways you can justify a way of thinking. So like where like he's not wrong, he's also not right. So
what makes him not right?
You can change and there not be any conflict of any sort.
Interesting. Hmm. 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 So so yeah. And then Jin Sung Ha uses a wave explosion. He's like, I wanted to teach Bam this, but he's like, I may never see him again. So it's like a dragon in the hand and a tiger in the other, and he blows a hole through Calivan's stomach. And I'm like, ooh. But it doesn't kill him. And then he breaks both of Jin Sung's arms.
Mm-hmm.
I'm, I'm like, man, that's rough. And Machine shows up, and Jin Sung doesn't think he'll live to see Viol again. And I'm like, oh man, my man's finna die. I was like, well, that's the ace moment. Yeah. And then we get Jin Sung's backstory, how
That's
someone
fucked
wanted
up,
to.
Irby.
What?
Though you playing on Ace's death.
Hey, it's similar, but
I think he's still
uh,
alive.
he is still alive.
Nah, I think Ace is still alive.
What? How?
In Luffy and Sabo, he lives.
Stop, stop. Stop it.
Said what? How?
I was like, how when Sabo ate the flame fruit or whatever it was called, forget the technical name. And I'm like, Psh, man, stop. And so yeah, so we find out that Jinsung wanted someone wanted to imprison him for something. Um, can't remember exactly what. And Yuri and Chione have a monologue of why she's unfit to be princess. And she talks about what it's meant to be princess, you know, the pressures and Yuri's like, I didn't want to be a princess anyway. And she wanted to end up breaking things and wanted to destroy the restrictions she was told about. Says following someone else's orders is just a way of avoiding responsibility. I'm like, dang, that's smooth criminal right there. It's like, never looked at it that way.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's kind of, it's kind of like, I guess people feel like they need organized organizations per se, that they're looking for someone at the top to just tell them what to do or tell them what to think. So, yeah, hmm, that's interesting thought.
Hey man,
So,
it's only getting better.
yeah, so she's beating Chione up. Yuri doesn't want to be a yes woman, and Karaka's like, "Bam, why aren't you leaving?" Bam's like, "I want to stay to fight," and he says, "There there has to be th- that he has the wrong idea." He says, "Winning the fight doesn't mean winning the war." It says, "If you run away and get your companions to the station, you win." And I'm like, "Oh man, it's spitting truths." And then the Black March stabs Bam and gives him some power. And then he does a flare wave with the Black March and starts leveling people, and Caliban shows up. And then he's like, you must be the one King Jihad told us to kill. I'm like, oh man, my man's finna get clapped up. I'm like, he ain't gonna get clapped up. This is Bam we talking about. If anything, he'll get another power up and be able to escape. And Dorsey grabs Bam, and Caliban recognizes her as one of Jihad's princesses, and that's why she's rebelling. Informs Bam that they that he killed his teacher, Jin Sung. But he's not certain as he's not seen the body. I'm like, oh man, they did. He's like, why are you fighting, Bam? And I'm like, just leave like how Dorsey wanted you to leave, Bam, but he doesn't want to do that.
Nah, he don't want to go.
He still wants to fight. I'm like, you're an idiot. Yuri tells Shione she wants to be a princess she can admire. Bam powers up and calls Jim's son, tell him not to come back and just be happy. I'm like, Bam, dog, you just need to let him go. You just need to learn. Has Rachel taught you nothing? So then Yuri and Caliban start fighting. Bam gets hit from behind by something. Caliban tells Bam to show him the reason why his master gave up his life. And apparently, quote unquote, he can't make a scratch on Caliban as of right now. And the station master installed a bomb on the warp drive that Harion has because they're going to warp out. And Caliban launches another attack. Karaka intervenes, says he's a nuisance. Crack tells Bam to flee again, and that the master isn't really dead. Says the interview is dead. He put the future in you, so he's not really dead. Yeah, so Avankil shows up to fight, and Caliban, she didn't think she would have to protect Bam until she saw that Bam wounded Caliban.
He did
And
ever so little.
yeah, and it's like not even a high ranker can hurt him, but Bam did. He's built different. So
You see,
I'm like, oh,
you take a normal scrub in this tower and they can't do shit. But I ain't your normal average irregular.
I'm about to say he ain't a normal scrub. I was like, dog, you kind of disrespect the whole main character there, call him a scrub.
Nah. I was Bam talking about other people. I ain't your normal scrub.
Oh,
I'm the guy.
he's the man. Mm-mm-mm. So then Flash of Jin song, he's asking Machine what she's after. And she said they had the same goal, but she thinks more blood needs to be shed for the sake of her goal. I'm like, huh? You can go without
She
killing
seems a little,
people.
yeah.
Yeah. What was that other lady from the one where they went to the floor of death or whatever? What was that lady's name?
Ivanko?
No. The other blue haired woman.
Oh, not Meshini, but
And I
I,
keep, can I feel like this is her, but I'm like, no, this is not her because I
no,
can't think of
it's
her
not
name.
her. I'll look for it while you're progressing.
Yeah. So Caliban stops Dorsey from fleeing to the warp pad. Avon Kale steps in to stop him. She says, let him go. And it's a 3v1. Yuri, the Tin Can, and Avon Kill. Tin Can is Karaka. And so Evan teleports White away from harm. They flash back to the bomb scene, and Kaiser destroys the bomb remote. And Caliban catches up to Bam. Hong Sun shows up with attack. Ishu shows up with a warship. And Jin Sung isn't dead. Machini just chose not to finish him off for whatever reason, because he's a masochist. Machini the masochist.
Oh, it's Garam Jihad.
Okay, yeah, because I was like, I thought they were the same. I was like, I know they're not the same. So, yeah. So Evan shows up to take Yuri away. She refuses, says, take the tin can with you. Says she's a princess, a direct descendant, so they couldn't kill her so easily. And if she runs, her family might label her an even worse, a criminal, and abandon her. And that's the worst thing for her. She's going back to meet her father and wants to know why he tried to kill Bam and whether he had a proper reason. And then the hunt for the regulars continue. Bam has a nervous breakdown about his master that isn't dead, and he cries because he's weak. And Jin Sung's body uh, starts to repair itself. Machine tells him she's going to make the change, making the tower a bloody mess. And they talk about a little bit of history of the tower and everyone and why they're all fighting. And Gustavo shows up in the warship and he takes the rest of the prisoners. I'm like, okay. And then Yvonne Kill wants to train Bam. It's like, okay, I see you, Bam's somebody now.
Mm-hmm.
Um, yeah. And Jin Sung is we find out he sent Kaiser to help Bam. And Yvonne Kill talks to Bam, says she wants him to be her student. Karaka shows up to where Wang Nine is and tells him where he needs to go. They discuss Khan's predicament, Horion, and what's his name? Is it Karaka? I guess. She talks to someone about a ladle that she was going to give the Moroku General Store salesman. And apparently the ship hides them. So that's what she was going to do. That's why she wanted the ladle. And Bambrack, they talk about stuff and about becoming a student. And yeah, and you
A little lost there, bud.
no, I'm just reading some stuff, trying to figure out how to condense this to the way I would like it to. But yeah, Rack pretty much they tell him he said Rack tells him to train. He's like, stop feeling sorry for yourself. He's like, don't show your weak side. You're my prey. You're supposed to be strong. And you're not allowed to act like this. And it's killing this urge to want to hunt him. I was like, okay, Rack, I see you, big dog. And yeah, tells Ben to be the hunter and stop being the hunted. And Rachel gets 3 wishes. I'm like, shh, you don't need no wishes. This girl can't stand her.
And
Can't,
thus, Irby gets to start season 3.
I already started it.
Irby has started season 3.
Yeah, like to keep on top of my game here. You know what I'm saying?
OP Bam. You're catching up, Irby. Pretty soon we're going to have a slot for something else to read.
Oh yeah, I know. I got plenty of things to read. Yeah.
Opening up
Mm-hmm.
them slots.
At the bartender.
Ooh, if you're. Let's talk about Overlord.
Hmm. You want to say that for last?
No, why?
No, I'm just kidding. Go ahead, spark it up.
So I say it doesn't really matter which one goes last. Overlord, episode 6. Those who pick up, those who were picked up. Actually, I'm just gonna bang out all 3 episodes in one fell swoop without explaining because they all tied
Uh,
into each other and there's
Not
not
much.
there's not much substance anyway.
Yeah.
So these 3 episodes follow Sebas as we were told after the lizard men and women that we'd be following Sebas a little more and Sebas being um excuse me
You
Sebas
excuse.
being the kind-natured OP character that he is, created from Lord Touch Me, I believe, is his Lord creator. He remembers Lord Touch Me's model and is always save someone in need. So Sebas sees a body in a bag, which he tells his shadow to react, and like the body comes out, and he saves the girl that it turned out to be. Well, in the midst of saving the girl, the guy who didn't want her to be saved said, "You'd cause me trouble if you take her." So Sebas gave him a bag of money to go away. But what did he do? He reported it, and now Sebas and the girl, what's her name, Salushi, had to entertain these guys who came to visit and wanted the girl back. Well, Salushi has been like very against keeping the human girl in their care since the get go. While Sebas was like, no, it's fine. She's our guest. Um, and then Sebas goes out for a walk to consider how he should approach the guys that approach them. And Salushi calls Ainz and reports that Sebas may have betrayed them. And we don't really see much about that. I'm just imagine we'll see it in probably episode 9 or 10, but
Yeah, I'm like, I don't understand why she says that he betrayed them. I'm like, huh. Makes no sense. But
yeah, I
yeah,
don't know. But we get
yeah.
to learn a little about the princess and her commoner knight and how she has no political power and all her brothers care about are fighting over power, so they don't really pay attention to the well-being of the kingdom. So she has to like use adventurers to like try to keep the Eight Fingers from gaining influence, which the Eight Fingers are an underground organization that like runs like slave trading, gambling, things like that. And in in the midst, which I think it's kind of interesting in the midst of like this. Sebas meets the Commoner Knight and the red hair guy, who is down on his confidence from meeting Shoutir. So I think it's kind of interesting that Shoutir and Sebas are both connected to Lord Ainzel Gold, and Shoutir is the reason the red hair knight had lost all his confidence. But Sebas is not directly responsible for him gaining his confidence, but the lesson he gave the Commoner Knight directly affected him. And just like, okay, this one broke him down, this one helped him up, and Ainz, who knows nothing about this, is on both of them. So you can argue like what side would he take if he met Ainzel Gold? Because his friend that tried to pick him up, the other night that Ainz saved, is indebted to Ainz, and it's just like now you've had different connections to this guy who's the adventurer Momon, and you don't even know. So really, it's like four different connections if you heard about him. Four different connections, four different impressions on the same guy. I just thought that was kind of interesting. But
Yeah,
anyways, the eight fingers go to take out Sebas, and Sebas decides he's gonna deal with this from the by the root, and they head with him to face the dangers that may be. What was a little funny about this episode is the Commoner Knight was talking to the Buff Girl Knight, and the Buff Girl adventurer kept trying to get her some dick.
yeah. She had a crush on old boy.
She was like, "Oh, you flatter me. How about you take those pants off?" I was like, "Damn,
She's very forward, which
very." She wants to snoo
I
snoo.
yeah. Sometimes you got to be forward. If not, people don't get the hint.
Hey,
But hey, I like you, and I'm like, oh, thanks, I like you too, and then that'd be the end of it. She don't hear anything. But yeah,
yeah, I just think that was the most noteworthy part of these three episodes. The connections that the red hair guy, or like his thoughts, what his thoughts might be on Iron's own gold. No, like if he found out his true identity and all the loopholes who follow him, things like that. It's like, oh, you're an
yeah,
adventurer. You've helped us, but you're also the controller of this girl. You let this happen. But you're also the ruler of this guy, and he helped me. And you're also the guy that helped the guy I know directly.
yep. So a whole lot of stuff goes on there, and I'm like, oh man. But yeah, I still they saved old girl, so I was like, well, that's not too bad saving old girl. So, but yeah, I still mad she snitched on old boy. I'm like, why you snitch on him?
I don't know, man. I guess we'll find out though.
We sure
She's gonna be
will
severely
find out.
punished, man. The
Yeah.
consequences will not be light.
What is he gonna do? Sit on her? Is that what he's gonna do?
maybe
She
he'll
probably
let
would enjoy that.
maybe he'll let Sebas punish her.
I still kind of want to know. She did something to that girl before actually healing her. So I was like, that's kind of weird.
I think she just drank her blood.
Who knows? It's just speculation at this point.
It is, but that's what I'm going with. Drank her blood.
Mm, maybe they drink blood. Maybe they don't drink blood.
Blood.
Maybe it's Maybelline.
Maybe he is. Shall we talk about a little Spy X family?
Yes, let's talk a whole lot about Spy X Family.
Sure, sure, sure.
And so, yeah, Spy X Family, episode 2, Secure a Wife. So,
Introduction of the Thorn Princess.
yes. So, my main man, Frankie, was all dressed up, and he was an ugly woman. And then they're like, they're like, oh, I can't believe I did this, volunteer for this. And I'm like, yeah, you're pretty ugly.
Yeah, not a pretty girl.
It's not. Yeah, so then we flash back to Yor, and she's some was she a hostess working in like the ministry or whatever?
She's a civil servant and she serves
Yeah,
whatever guy they're all talking crap on, but they're also talking crap on her.
yeah, and she's like oblivious to stuff. And so she gets invited to a party, and she doesn't have a boyfriend or anything. And everyone's like, "Oh, you're so suspicious around people out here killing people. It could be you." And because she doesn't have a boyfriend, it's very suspicious, and she's single. And she's like, "Oh, I'll be bringing my partner with me." Classic. How the movies start. Oh, I have a partner. Of course I do. Of course I'm not single.
Mm-hmm.
And
And
then
the
she has to
girls who
go.
clearly
And,
just make fun of her to feel better about themselves.
yeah. So and then she's talking to her brother, and it's like, yeah. She's like, oh, I want to meet. He was like, I want to meet the guy. And she's like, oh no. Now she's in a quandary. And then the Thorn Princess, receives a phone call, and she's like, Thorn Princess, who needs your services. And I'm like, oh, is she like one of those sleeper agents where that's her code phrase to activate? Thorn Princess. Psh.
Yeah, freaking her eyes changed, her whole mood changed, and then she went on a slaughter spring.
Yeah, that's why I was like, oh, that's like maybe she's not aware herself turn into that. So then we flash back to Anya, and she's getting measurements for a dress, and she said, help me, I'm gonna be sold off somewhere, which I thought that was funny. so so then Yor sneaks in, and without him noticing, he's like, oh, I must have let down my skills. I've been too relaxed lately. But then she senses that he's looking at her, and she's like, oh, you've been staring at me ever since I walked in. And he's like, huh? She must have more skills than I thought. And Anya, she reads her mind and discovers that she's actually an assassin.
And
And
I
Anya,
over here trying to
yeah,
build a super family.
yeah, I do enjoy Anya's like facial expressions and all this stuff. It's just funny Hallmark stuff, makes me
Yeah,
laugh.
she's the comedic relief.
Yeah, yeah, she's my favorite.
Yeah, because like then she obviously reads their minds and figure out that like it's probably not gonna work out. And but
Yeah,
like the reason your thinks it's not gonna work out is because she thinks that he's married, blah blah blah. So then Anya does very bad acting and it's just like, oh, I want a mama. Oh, I wish I had a mama.
starts singing. That was another one. She busts out in the song "How Alone She Is," and without her mother.
But what got me was when he goes as Lloyd. When Lloyd put on his acting about losing his wife, and then Anya right after is just like, Papa's a liar.
He's a good liar. Yeah. So then they get a little quid pro quo going, and so that's when they're like, I'll show up for your thing if you help me be the mother or whatever. And she really needed a man for the party, so the party happens. He tells her to meet her at this train station or whatever, and but he has the mission of going to steal some artifacts back from a syndicate. And so that kind of interferes, and he gets Frank to help him so he gets done quicker. And he takes out like 38 men, like with the ease, and deals with our thief. But he doesn't show up on time, so she ends up going back without him. And then so she's talking, people making fun of her. It's like, oh yeah, you couldn't see him, whatever. It's like, yeah, we thought you were lying or something. And then she goes to leave, and he shows up bloody, and he's like, oh, I'm sorry, I'm here. One of my patients had a psych episode. I'm like, bro, you're bleeding. Like, you couldn't have wiped that off if you got in here. I'm like, dang. And then the girl tries to come and embarrass her and drop all that stuff on her, but she like catches it with her feet. I'm like, okay, my girl got moves.
And then he tastes it and it's like, oh, this is good.
Yeah. So, and then the girl gets a drop on her nose and burns her. So yeah, during the jewelry heist, he had also gotten a ring because like, I'll need this for her. So he took it, whatever. And then so they're leaving the party now. Um, he, let's see, he
They're
tells
dri-
her some stuff. Yeah,
they're driving away, and then like
The-
they start being chased, and it's like, oh, it must be my patients.
yeah, that's what it was.
We'll
And
lose
she
them over
believes
here.
him. She believes him. I'm like, how?
I don't think she believes him.
She kind of strikes me as what's that
Gullible
blonde?
unless she's killing.
Yeah, what's that blonde girl's name that was always getting clapped up? I forget.
What show we're talking about?
Love of Kill.
Oh,
Chateau. That's what it
Chateau.
was.
Yeah,
Yeah, she reminds me of her. Where like he's like, oh, you can't drink because you're pregnant. She's like, huh? She didn't really understand that when he hinted, like, oh, she can't drink. Wink, wink. And she's like, oh, I can. And then yeah, that's what she kind of strikes me as like certain things she doesn't get.
mm-hmm.
So they're fighting the patients, whatever. They got tracked down, and then they're fighting, and she's like, we should get married. And like he stops, and it's
Face
like
plants the
for real.
ground.
Yeah, that was another funny one. But yeah, so then something else happens. She starts kicking butt too. She's like, "Oh, I took a self defense class." Like, "Oh, okay. They teach you a spinning back kick in self defense class." Okay.
Yeah, and then she's like, at some point in that little situation, she's like, "I'm sorry, an amateur like me interfered with your recovery method."
Yeah,
Because when he was beating them, she was like, "Is that really okay?" It was like, "Oh, it's a new recovery method through concussion."
yeah. So
Oh
I was,
man.
I was like, "Oh, okay."
And
And
homie Lloyd finds out he loses the ring, so they run away. He picks up a grenade, pulls the pin out, chucks the nade, and puts the freaking grenade pin around her finger as he proposes to her. And in their head, they're like, "Until my mission and until my killing do us apart." I'm like, oh,
yeah, I feel like if stuff was out in the open, it'd probably be way better for
they'd probably
them.
100% stick together.
Yeah, because that's like the perfect cover.
I mean, Anya will probably spoil it at the end when they're ready to go their separate ways.
Yeah, she'll probably do something. I
Yeah.
don't know.
It's like, I read minds, and she's an assassin, and you're a spy, and we've been in this family. I'll
And I
help with
wouldn't
your
be,
missions. Just don't let us be a family.
and I wouldn't even be mad at that. But yeah, so prepare for the interview. Yours moves in to get settled. Anya shows around, and she touches her murder kit, and she has a freak out. And Anya reads her mind, and so uh, then they start the prep sequence, and he starts asking her some questions, and she's like, "Oh." She's telling him ways in which she would kill people, and he's like, "Huh, that's not a very reassuring answer." But he doesn't realize that there are ways to kill people. I'm like, aren't spies supposed to be observant? like, like, come on, man. And then so, yeah, and then they go on an outing, and they hold hands and stuff, and she's like, "Oh, this reminds me when I used to care for my brother." And then she hugged him and broke his ribs, and Anya like freaks out and runs away.
And Lloyd was
And
just
then
thinking, it's like, oh, maybe this is okay. And then that happened. He's like, maybe not.
maybe it won't work out. I hate relying on other people. And then so the song in the museum was cute too. She was singing songs, and if you look at the stuff, it was like, oh, she's detailing the secrets of spies and killing and stuff, and like no one picks up on it.
Mm-hmm.
And then this is where you find out that the crowd overwhelms Anya because she can hear too many voices.
Yeah.
Yeah. Mm-mm-mm. And so then they go to the park, and a thief steals a wallet, and Yura goes and hunts him down,
But
and
then
she misses him.
she
Yeah.
loses track of him. And Lloyd goes to hunt him for her. And he can't find him. But Anya is like, wants to help. So she's trying to listen on the voices, but it's hard on her. She gets a nosebleed. But she finds him and it's like, I want to eat there, blah, blah, blah. And points him out.
Yeah, and then he finds him because of the gate. So I'm like, oh yeah, that makes sense because there's certain aspects of yourself you can change, but some you can't distinguish. Like like your laugh is one. Uh, the way you walk's another one, unless you like physically break your leg and have to walk differently. So yeah, other little mannerisms, which I always thought was cool. So, but there are ways to get around that though. If you put something in your shoe that forces you to walk different. Old spy tricks.
Or
We
you
learned
just
it.
walk uncomfortable until you get away.
Yeah, you
But he
can,
didn't know he was being hunted, so.
but eventually you just revert back to your usual self. So old spy tricks. I learned some of that in some books that I read.
I think it was funny towards the end when the old lady was thanking them and like they were thanking each other, and then Anya was just like, Papa and Mama are flirting.
Yeah, that was funny too. Mm-mm. And then the next episode, Elegance. That's not what it's. That's not what it's called, but it might as well be the theme,
The
elegance.
prestigious school's interview.
Yeah, it's pretty much elegance.
Elegance. The
Yeah, so
elegance. That is not an elegant score, but that's an elegant man.
yeah, so
Can we have him enroll in this school?
yeah, I love that old man.
I didn't know
Like
how I
at
felt about him until like the very end, and he punched the
the
dude in the
very
face.
end, yeah, the very end, I was like, okay, this guy's kind of different.
Yeah, huzzah!
Yeah, so they head out to the exam, and he and she they feel like they're being watched. Ura and Lloyd, because I guess their intuition kicks in, and they're being examined from the get go, and that's when they start to pay their respects to the headmaster statue. And then the headmaster currently flips out and he's like, oh man, look, they're so elegant, elegant, elegant. And so there's this boy that was in the sewer and he's dirty, and like people are like, oh, I need help. And people just walk by him and they go over and help him because the boy's part of the test. He's like, oh no, they're going to fail this test because of me. And he dumps his foot in the water. I'm like, oh man, you couldn't have just reached in there and just like pulled him out. And
But it
then they
wouldn't
have
show how elegant he is.
yeah,
My man bought 3 changes of clothes.
yeah. And then turns out they had spare clothes, and then a cow and livestock accident came out, and my man Lloyd saves a child, and Ura uses pressure points to incapacitate the cow.
Which terrifies the cow.
Yeah, and the headmaster comes down and he tells them they can apply after they go clean themselves up, and then have more spare clothes.
My man put on a top hat.
Yeah. And then he's like, oh man, I don't know who these people are, but they're scary. So it's too elegant or whatever. I did think a nice little tidbit here was how Anya, I think she could read all minds.
Yeah, she knew the
Um,
cow was like terrified and like tried to soothe it.
yeah, so I was like, huh.
What's amazing to me is that she has the wherewithal to use her ability to like benefit herself, but she has shitty recall. Because every
How
answer she gave during that interview was not what Lloyd was thinking.
well, some of them was, some weren't.
No,
But
she kept changing it and like it made it sound weird.
yeah, I mean, one of them was something that he said that he was thinking about because it was because she almost blurted out that he was a spy or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
But I wouldn't say she has bad recall. She kind of has a overactive imagination for a little kid because she just be thinking too much sometimes.
No, I mean like the things were like, hey, do you know
Address or whatever.
our principal's name? No, not like the stuff she had to memorize, but like the questions he was asking her, and then Lloyd was thinking of the answer, and she was trying to say it back, but she couldn't. She kept botching it.
I also feel like some of that stuff they were doing typos in there.
I think they were spelling it the way that she was saying it, and it wasn't working out. She didn't even say
Yeah.
her last name right.
Yeah, which if you look on the keyboard, they're kind of like all close together. So that's why I was like, I could attribute that to just typing too fast.
I don't know,
But
man. It happens a lot.
yeah, maybe there's any better editing.
It's like, nah, cause like you have teams for things like this. Like you're not gonna put it out with all those mistakes, are you?
If your people aren't if there's no like real checks and balances, because it reminds me of I listened to this episode on a podcast where this kid it was some job he was doing and he was supposed to send this thing to his friend and his friend's supposed to look it over before it's published and his friend just published it because he thought the kid was going to be a good one. So stuff happens, it slips through. Everyone's human.
Damn.
But yeah, so that happened.
But yeah, she definitely
uh,
didn't give the answers he was thinking half the time. Like instead of
yeah,
saying like she wants to be the goal of that or like whatever, she was like, um, I want to meet the head or something like that. It was just like, and like you can tell it wasn't what Lloyd was thinking because it was just like, why would she say that?
yeah,
But they were like, oh, what an ambitious little girl.
yeah, because I think she wanted to meet someone that Lloyd had or something, and that's what she just came up with. Yeah, because he wanted to meet the headmaster so he could get to somebody, right?
I think so.
Yeah, so I think that's what she did, and she kind of just flipped it to make it apply for her.
I think you're giving her way too much credit.
Maybe she's deserving that much credit.
No, I think you need to rewatch that entire little 5-10 minutes and
Maybe
see
they
how much she was nervous and messing up.
maybe they corrected it by the time you watched it because I watched it 2 weeks ago.
I watched it like 5 minutes
Today,
ago.
yeah, exactly. So that's why I said maybe they corrected it by the time you watched it. But when I watched it, that's how it was,
I don't know,
sir.
man. I don't know.
2 weeks ago, because someone want to play Elden Rings. But hey, that's fine. But anyhow, um,
Oh
yeah.
god.
So yeah, they had to close the story, some stuff, and to make us some stuff stick close to the truth. Um, the one guy, the legacy hire, he was pretty much of a jerk, and you find out that his wife is divorcing him, and he lost custody of his child. And I'm like, oh, jerk. That's what you get. I'm total jerk. And then he's like, oh, you gotta ask her who he prefers, the her new mom or old mom. This just makes Anya cry. And my man Lloyd gets super mad. And then he shatters the table and he's like, oh, my bad. I tried to kill a mosquito. I thought he was gonna punch him in the face, but he didn't.
Mm-mm.
So that was another good one. And then so you're and Lloyd, they leave and it's like, I don't know what kind of institution this is, but I'm not sure we want to be a part of it if you behave in that manner. And then the headmaster punches that guy in the face. So I was like, and he's like, yeah, now I can act elegant now by going to the other headmaster. So I was like, okay, this guy's cool now. He's okay in my book.
He's a-okay with me.
Yeah. And then so they sit down, they talk, and then at the end of the day, a picture falls down. And that's never a good omen. And
Well, they had a lot of. It was like it was a little heavy after the interview, and Anya was feeling really bad, and was saying how she was sorry, and then like um, Yor was thinking that like if she doesn't get into school, then there won't be a need for this little family anymore. Which Yor seems like she's getting attached to them as well. But then they turned around the energy and like they started getting more positive energy, and then the picture fell, and it's like oh well, the picture just killed all the positive energy they just mustered up.
Be like that.
They
Kill
do.
them all. Yeah, so I ain't mad at him. It's a good little episode there. Well, we know she's gonna get into the school because that's part of the plot.
Yeah, she
So
has to. I'm just mad
yeah.
they giving my man missions on top of his mission.
Well, crime doesn't stop just because you got one mission. You gotta keep it moving.
Damn.
Gotta keep it moving. Can I get more thrills? Mm-hmm.
Or
So
instead
come
of,
on.
or maybe instead of Anya telling them about each other, Twilight gets a mission that like involves revealing who she is because she's killing. Maybe she kills someone important that she shouldn't have killed.
Yeah, I think that's also they start fighting the next mission and he has on a little mask. I'm like, okay. So
Oh, my man already watched the next episode.
they showed the preview, dog.
I'll watch the preview, dog. No spoilers.
I watch them all. Watch it till it says zero on the timepiece.
Nah, no spoilers.
When that thing hits zero, that's when I flip it over.
Damn. My man sees all the spoilers. All right,
Hey
Irby, you
man.
got anything else to go on?
Nope. No, got nothing else to go on.
Then hit us with an outro, big dog.
You do the outro.
All right, I'll do the outro.
All
All
right,
right,
I'll do the outro.
all right, you'll do the outro.
No, you'll do the outro.
What is this, Bugs Bunny, Daffy Duck? Pick one.
Yeah. Well, ladies and gentlemen, thank you for listening. We hope to get you to listen some more. Rate us, review us, give us compliments, comments, concerns, whatever you feel like, interactions, and we'll catch up with you next week. Peace.
Peace.